Planet Earth is home to 2.16 million described animal species, most of which look like this, or like this, or even like this. Ooh, pretty. These creatures all belong to the phylum Arthropoda, the arthropods, who account for over 80% of all animal life. The word arthropod can be translated from Greek as joint foot. It's pretty straightforward. Arthropods walk on jointed limbs, and those jointed limbs have carried them longer, farther, and more creatively than any other animal group in Earth's history. From their first appearance in early Cambrian oceans over 540 million years ago, arthropods have been masters of evolutionary innovation, quickly diversifying to become the most abundant animals on the planet, a record that holds as true today as it did in the time of trilobites. But what is an arthropod? What led to them becoming so successful and diverse? And how did their journey impact the timeline of evolutionary history? We'll find the answer to all those questions and more as we continue exploring the Tree of Life. Arthropods weren't the first animals to evolve. They weren't even the second or third, but they were first to reach nearly every other major milestone in the timeline of animal evolution. They were the first animals to evolve armor that allowed full body protection without limiting movement. The first to develop complex eyes capable of sensing the world around them in ways that no other animal could. They were the first to step out of the ocean and onto dry land, which naturally led to them being the first to breathe air. And when life on land created new challenges, arthropods, specifically insects, were the first animals to take flight. And they accomplished all of this before our amphibian ancestors had even evolved legs. Today, over 1 million arthropod species have been described, mostly insects. And scientists believe that millions more are still awaiting discovery. Due to the size and diversity of this phylum, the evolutionary relationships between groups are still under investigation. But the current consensus looks something like this. Within phylum Arthropoda exist two major groups, Chelicerata and Mandibulata. Chelicerata includes the arachnids, horseshoe crabs, and sea spiders. Mandibulata includes the myriapods, better known as millipedes and centipedes, and Pancrustacea, the crustaceans and insects. We'll get into all the differences between these groups in future videos down the line, so make sure to subscribe so you don't miss them. But for now, let's take a look at what connects the members of this spectacularly diverse phylum. All arthropods have segmented bodies, an exoskeleton that molts as they grow, and multiple pairs of jointed appendages. This combination of features is what allowed arthropods to evolve and diversify so much more rapidly than other animal groups. One way to look at the benefits of a segmented body plan is to think of it like a train. The cars on a train are like the segments of an arthropod body, each car being basically identical in structure and function to the cars in front and behind it, but also modular enough to make small changes in design to serve a unique function without changing the design of the other cars. Segmentation also allows for greater flexibility of movement without sacrificing protection. The arthropod exoskeleton almost certainly evolved for defensive purposes during a time when all life existed underwater. But one of the fun side effects of having a rigid exoskeleton is that it holds you up against the forces of gravity and helps retain moisture. And these were the features that allowed arthropods to step onto dry land before any other animal. This enormous evolutionary breakthrough is what gave arthropods greater freedom to evolve and diversify. Jointed limbs initially designed for crawling over the ocean floor required very little modification to transition to dry land. And once again, segmentation made it easier to develop structures that could obtain oxygen from the air, allowing them to spend more time away from the water. Evidence of the earliest animal life on land can be found in trace fossils, which are fossilized footprints, trails, or burrows rather than the animal itself. Trace fossils of arthropod tracks on land can be first seen roughly 450 million years ago, while trace fossils of vertebrate tracks didn't show up until about 390 million years ago. This means that there was a 60 million year window of time where the only animals on land were arthropods. I was truly born in the wrong generation. This 60 million year head start on the rest of the animal kingdom meant that a flourishing and diverse ecosystem was already in place when the first vertebrates stepped onto dry land, making the whole transition a lot easier than it would have been otherwise. When arthropods colonized the land, only plants, fungi, and microbes were available as food sources. When carnivorous proto-amphibians like Tiktaalik crawled out of the water, a full buffet of land-dwelling arthropods were already established. An argument can be made that without the extra motivation provided by new hunting grounds with an abundant food source, early vertebrates wouldn't have moved beyond their aquatic lifestyle. The diversity of life that we see on land today wouldn't exist, and I wouldn't be here making this video. So from all of us here on Earth, thank you, arthropods. We could not have done it without you. Next week, we meet a group of animals who are more closely related to us than any phylum we've covered so far, even though they look like spiky Christmas ornaments. These are animals that undergo amazing physical changes from larva to adult, and masters of regeneration who can grow entirely new bodies from a single detached limb. The echinoderms. Phylum Echinodermata. Follow me on all the things. Like, subscribe, comment, and I'll see you next Friday. Until then, stay curious, stay connected, and never stop evolving.